joining us today. We're really excited. We've got great speaker lined up. I can't wait to hear Venus's talk. Just a little bit about the Doug organization and whatnot. So again, I'm going to do my best to go through these slides. These are usually our friends at Doug, but if you're not familiar with Doug, it has been a group that's been around well before my birth. No, I'm kidding. But for many, many years. It's been one of the longest, it is the longest running independent Dynamics user group. And it's not specifically one product, it's the entire Dynamics platform. And as I've been seeing it grow through the years, it's really kind of expanded because the footprint of Microsoft has changed a lot. So it's a wonderful organization. There's lots of training. We get to set up and found our own groups like this one that we have set up, Nancy, Vaughn, and I. And we just hit our 3-year, well, we're into our 3rd year of our little meetup here. So very exciting kind of milestone for us to reach. But it's supported by the folks at Doug. So they do a great job of helping us keep messaging and keep, sharing knowledge and whatnot in the community. So, and the neat thing is it's free. It's everybody can join. If you're not a Doug member already, I highly recommend it. Just the amount of networking and the information sharing and just all the tools, and you'll see in the deck what we mean. So is anybody on the call here a first-time Doug participant, like with a show of hands?
We've got Courtney.
Oh, Courtney.
Okay,
great.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. Thanks, Courtney. Well, this will resonate with you. It'll be a little bit of a repeat for others. So, I know that the community has grown in leaps and bounds. So we're currently sitting at 47,000 community members, and it is a global organization. So you'll see in a few minutes. But if you're new to it, please hop on the dynamicsusergroup.com site, and you'll see lots of great content on there. So, my slide, just 1 second. So let's just move in. Keeps on pushing me somewhere. Just give me 1 second, everybody. This slide deck is doing some funky things here. Okay. The deck that she sent me is a 1-pager. Just give me a second here.
Okay. Maybe I log into
I'm gonna have to keep it in not in presenter mode just to get through the slides. So sorry. Okay, so just a few things about the rules of engagement for the meetups is just be courteous. We're all contributing here. We're all learning. We're all participating. So helpful input is always appreciated. And then again, just what the purpose is it's a place for all kinds of the community to meet, whether you're a customer, you're actually with Microsoft, you're an ISV. So it's a chance for us to really overlap and collaborate. And it's all volunteer. So that's one of the big things here is it's all volunteer. And then just, a little bit about helping to bring other folks along with you. If you think you get something out of these sessions, then feel free to share with your network. We like to make sure that we do some posts on LinkedIn, and I share with my colleagues at the office. I actually invite my colleagues at the office to present. So I think it's a great opportunity for my leaders in training to get a chance to kind of speak in front of people. So if there's anybody that ever has a topic and you're interested and you want to present, and it's a small group, so you kind of get used to it, please reach out to us. We're really happy to talk to people that are interested to present something. So a little bit about the different programs here with Doug. You can see all the various communities. So from Business Central to customer engagement, finance, and supply. GP, Power Platform, AI, all things Copilot. So lots of subgroups that within the Dynamics User Group program. And they all have forums, webinars, meetups, team meetings, conferences. Like it's phenomenal the amount of content available today in the Doug or the Dynamics user group. So I know, for instance, we'll talk a little bit more about DynamicsCon, but that's an annual conference, and it's a really fantastic conference. We'll talk a little bit about it in the slides coming up, but lots of time all throughout every month to attend virtual meetups. Sometimes they are in-person meetups. I was just on a virtual meetup with I think it's the Southern Florida Panhandle user group, because one of my people that I've known in the network was presenting, so I wanted to go and support her and hear what she had to say. So it's easy to hop onto other meetups. Just go into the meetup sites or go onto the Doug site, and you can look for meetups in your area, or like cross-pollinate like I have. Okay. So this is newer, so you can fill out this form to get updated on meetups and upcoming stuff. So this is a nice new feature that the Doug group has put together. I don't remember this, Vonda, do you? That there's a form to fill in. I think it's pretty new, so it's interesting, eh?
Yep, that's a new one on me as well.
Yeah. So take a second, get your phones out if you want to take a shot of that. The deck will come out as well, so not to worry. But this is a great way to kind of keep up to date, because there's a lot of groups, and it's easy to miss some of the really good sessions that you want. The nice thing, as I mentioned earlier, all the groups record the sessions, and so you can find them on the Doug channels and so on. So a little bit about switching gears on just this conference that's coming up. So they have an annual conference. The Doug Group has an annual conference. It's called DynamicsCon. It's going to be in Las Vegas this year. I've attended numerous of these conferences. They are just awesome. The content is unbelievable. The networking is great. It's usually a lot of fun. It's a group of very like-minded people that just want to share. Like, it truly is a place to go and meet people and collaborate. And I know, as a presenter here, it's a great way to go and meet up with colleagues that you'd like to present on a DynamicsCon stage with. So it's a really neat kind of place to go for all kinds of purposes. But so it'll be May 12th to 15th in Las Vegas. Again, there's a QR code for you if you're interested to get some more information. All right. In addition to the annual big conference, there are many regionals that go on. I'm in Toronto, Canada, so I'm very excited. We have our repeat Toronto event in June, but if for those of you in different parts of the world, you can see there's one just passed in Tampa. The Vancouver one is coming up next month, which will be a beautiful destination to get to. And Denver coming up in April, Toronto, as I mentioned, and then over in Accra, if you happen to be over on the continent anytime soon. But one thing I will point out that's important when you look at the locations is these icons at the top will tell you the focus of that regional. So if it's in your wheelhouse for these types of content, so F&O, CE, AI, so on, just make note of what your interest is and what that conference will host. So typically the conferences, at least my experience in the Toronto one, they're free to attend. There might be buy a t-shirt, $20 kind of thing, but they're definitely great experiences. The one in Toronto is early June. I'll find the dates. But anyway, would love to see everybody in Toronto. If you do come to Toronto, let me know, and I would love to meet up with you. So, but there's lots of regionals coming up, and definitely worth attending if you can get there in person. So there's a few more later in the second half of the year. You can see there's one in Columbus. There's one in Montreal. I've been to the one in Montreal as well. Really, really well done. And then again, if you're over in Europe, you can hit up the regional in Germany, and then back to Texas. So we've got a few potential sessions there, and nice to have one in your backyard. So again, there's the QR code if you're interested in connecting in the regionals. And these are all run and organized by different folks. So it's a really nice way to kind of understand who are the people that are involved in DynamicsCon. Again, they're all people like us that just got together and said, we really want to share our knowledge. We want to learn from other people. I love the sessions that we have because I'm not the expert in everything, but it's an absolutely amazing way to become more knowledgeable about what's going on in the world out there. So that's it. That's a wrap for the Doug piece. Are there any questions? No.
Nothing in the chat. Oh, here's
Okay.
Kim. Kim,
Oh, there's
hello.
Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
I just
How
steal
are
your
you?
thunder.
Yeah. No, sorry, I'm a little bit late. My other meeting ran over a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, okay, no problem. Well, Tanya's just delivered the intro slides. We had the deck as well. Is there anything in particular you want to add or cover that perhaps Tanya didn't get to? Anything, because you're always first in the know, you and Madison. So is there something you want to share? Any
Yeah,
events?
so we have the regional in the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver coming up in March. So if anyone is interested in going, I please sign up and I encourage you to go. And then also, of course, I know, of course, Tanya would have covered DynamicsCon 2026 coming up, and I'll be posting the 15% discount code in the chat soon. So if you're interested, please register.
Okay, yeah, lovely. If you can put the links in the chat, because I don't think I've got them to hand, but if there's something you want, uh, if people are not doing perhaps QR codes, that would be great. Thanks, Tanya, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kim. So I guess it's time to move over to the star of the session today. We've got Venus Garg on the call today. So Venus is going to talk to us about some approaches and best practices around AI and governance and so on. So we're really excited to hear about it. Obviously, it's not a topic we can opt out of. It's here whether we like it or not. So Venus, I'm happy to have you introduce yourself and then take a pass through your slides for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Venus Garg. I thank you all for being here today, and thanks, Doug, for giving me an opportunity to speak. I have worked in different tech companies, to name a few: USA Bank, Amex, Salesforce, Sears, Nelson. Now, currently working in Elevance Health as an executive AI advisor. So, in these past 20 years, the topic which I'm going to talk about is today's responsible AI, because I have worked almost in data analytics and AI throughout my career. And when most people hear responsible AI, they think ethics framework or policy reviews or the model's explainability. But through my experience in working at the intersection of AI systems and data infrastructure and enterprise governance, I come to believe something different. Responsible AI is not fundamentally a data engineering problem. It's not the after part of governance. It's something we need to bake in our data.
Mhm.
So let me share my slides and let me know you're able to see that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's great. Right. Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so today I want to talk about responsible AI in a very practical way, not as a policy discussion or something we build into our system. The core idea is simple. If we want AI systems, we can trust them. If we want them that we can trust them, we need to focus on the data, the pipeline, the feed to our models, not the models or their results after that. So we need to think left side of it now. Like, after model is created, refining the model, it's we are adding the overhead to our system. So that's what is my talk going to be about, and my learnings and the best practice we should follow and make that shift in our industry. And especially when AI fails in healthcare, they rarely fail because of neural network or the architecture. It's because of the bias, the data bias, or the incomplete data, or we are not able to track data, or if the data is not governed properly. So truth does not happen at the end. It starts from the beginning. That's what I believe. So moving on to the next slide, we are talking here why responsible AI is fundamentally a data problem. AI usually does not start in the model, they start in the data. For example, imagine training a hospital readmission model using historical data. If certain patient groups historically had less access to care, the data reflects that. And eventually the model will reflect that because the model learns those patterns. If not intentionally biased, but it's just learning what it sees. Another example is if the data quality drops over time, maybe the field stopped being populated correctly or the model performance dropped and we didn't capture that. So the responsible AI rarely starts with clean, representative, well-governed data. If the data is flawed, the model will get flawed. So this is where much similar to shift left approach, where we use the shift left approach a lot in the software industry. So this shift left approach is where the developers do unit testing and the testing is baked as a part of the CI/CD to catch up problems before the software is deployed in production. Similarly, the approach of focusing on the data, improving the data quality will lead to the better model output. Thinking afterwards, making the model better will not give us that impactful result. So here we are talking about now shifting from model-centric approach, which has been followed in the industry for quite a while, to the data-centric responsible AI approach. Traditionally, teams focus on improving the model first, tuning algorithm, improving accuracy, and only later think about, do we have the fairness checks in our data? Are we having the compliance or the governance in our data? Whereas in data-centric approach, if we flip this, before the model is trained, before we are even training the model on the data, we ask, is our data complete? Is it representative of all the groups, for example? So we need to ask for each and every column in our data, is it representative enough? Do we know where it is coming from? So if there is a derived field or some derived column, it should be easy to trace back to see the lineage from where it is coming. So thanks to the technology advancement nowadays, where we are available for the major cloud vendors, for example, Azure machine learning, you can run fairness checks before registering a model. If the model shows uneven performance across any of the groups or a particular column, it does not promote the model. That's data-centric responsible AI, what I'm talking about. Governance before deployment, not after. Shift left, and as discussed in the previous slide, shift left. Think here first when we are loading our data, when we are focusing on that on our data, making our data pipelines versus thinking about it later that this was a flaw in our data. So mapping responsible AI principles to the data pipeline stages. Let's break this down simply. Fairness means checking for bias while data profiling and validating models itself. We are checking for the bias, whether a particular column is populated enough or not. Transparency means tracking where data comes from and what transformations are applied on top of it. And privacy means protecting sensitive information so that nobody can infer from it information about a particular member. So we add those access controls to it. Accountability means keeping logs so that it's easy to trace back when the discussions happens later. We should be able to trace back and understand the entire story that why we are saying so when the model says so. So traceability is impactful. So like for example, we use in some of our models, we started using Microsoft Purview, which because it provides data lineage which becomes easier for us to understand that where did this dashboard number come from. Now you can show the full path of the source to the systems, that how is this being derived? What is the source behind it? From where it started mainly? If we see that the numbers are not making sense, then this tracing back helps us to make sure that we are taking a decision correctly. Bias detection, finding problems where data meets model. Bias often sneaks in quietly. Maybe one of the demographic group is underrepresented in the data set. Say maybe a zip code acts as a proxy for the income level while we are building the model. The key is automation. For example, we set up in Azure machine learning one of the fairness check in the SDK. You can use that for many models. You can repurpose that. That's one big advantage. Once you create the check on automated checks, you can compare the model performance across different subgroups. If the error rates are much higher for one of the group, that's a red flag that this does not go to the fairness check. So think of these fairness checks as the unit tests. They fail, the model should not move forward. So that's how you can make sure that your model is robust enough and there is no biases in it. So we are doing that early check. That way bias is caught early, not after deployment. This again emphasizes that the bias is best handled at the data level, not at the model level. About privacy, protecting individuals in the aggregate analytics. So this slide is simple concept where we are saying that the raw data goes in, protected output comes out. For example, suppose we are analyzing patients' trends across hospitals. We want insights, but we don't want to expose the individual records because of HIPAA compliance. We need to protect the privacy of our individuals. Differential privacy acts controlled noise. We add the controlled noise to the aggregated result. So no single individual can be identified while in this aggregated data. You still need get the useful trends from the data, but the privacy is protected. So you can mask those important columns, especially which reveals the member information. It's about balancing insights with protection. With masking, those columns does not get very obvious, and then the disaggregated data does not reveal information about a particular member. Data lineage. We talked about data lineage, the foundation of accountability and trust. If someone asks, why did this model make this prediction? Can you trace it back? Data lineage helps answer that question. It traces how data moves from one source system through transformation into the model and dashboard. In past, I've seen that it used to take us long time to, trace back why this particular column is aggregated and giving me this particular KPI does not look right. And it used to take a week to trace back. But with the tools like Microsoft Purview, this has become easier. We used Elation as well. So the tracing back, understanding that from where my data is coming, it helps to validate whether this particular value does make sense or not. For example, if the model performance suddenly drops, Purview can show whether an upstream data change occurred. Maybe the column format changed and then this particular data dropped after the column format changed, and we are not even recording the entire stream of data for this particular column from a particular date onward. So without lineage, debugging takes days. With lineage, you can find the issue quickly and make quicker decisions. So linear makes accountability, tracing, and issue resolution possible faster. So it's important. So we talked about mm, lineage, we talked about machine learning, unit testings, we talked about how do we integrate the data in totality. So this is the tooling ecosystem. We cannot just rely on one particular tool in order to conceptualize the architecture of responsible AI. So it requires connected tools like Azure Machine Learning handles training and the fairness checks and the explainability of each and every column. And then Microsoft helps us to trace the lineage back, how is data transformed and enforces policies. And then on top of it, we apply Power BI, where we tries to apply sensitivity to the labels. We mask the data. We add row level security. We add user level security for the analytics purpose. For example, if a dashboard is labeled confidential in Purview, or if a particular data set is labeled confidential, or a column is labeled confidential in Purview, that label flows into Power BI only for the users who are allowed to see that. So this governance travels with the data, not after thoughts. Within the data, we have applied that governance beforehand. You can do that in Power BI. You can do the similar thing in Tableau, where you can control. You can do the row level security to the data, or the role level security to the data. That is, the particular is of this role. Only show the data, this level of data to this particular role. So those kind of access controls really helps to not expose the entire data stream to the entire world, to the entire population. It just flows wherever it is necessary. So these governance checks, the access, who can access that is very important. So here, um, in the high stake areas like healthcare, people need to understand why a prediction was made. Explainability tools like SHAP shows features influenced why this particular feature influenced a decision. For example, if a patient flagged as a high risk, clinicians can see whether the lab results made it a risky indicator, or the age or the prior admission records contributed to that. So all these features helps to understand, and they build trust in the final data which we are presenting if the data is explainable. So it's important that we tie back the lineage, we tie back these unit tests, we tie back this traceability back, because when we see the final KPIs or the final data, explainability turns the model says so into why the model says so. So here we are talking about embedding governance into daily developer workflows, because governance was earlier seen as the overhead. I would say that it's not a overhead. Governance should not slow down developers. For example, when a developer requests data access, policies can automatically be checked at that time. When they run notebook, fairness checks can scan through, they can trigger automatically. When they deploy a model, the validation gates can enforce standards. If the governance is automated, it's a part of your data at every step, it becomes system muscle memory. It's invisible in infrastructure, and it does not add extra work. It, if we find the issue later, that becomes the extra work and tracing back becomes difficult. So adding these checks, adding these governances, adding the validations within the data helps us to make our model robust and perform better and build trust from day one. Designing patterns for responsible AI at enterprise scale. To scale responsible AI, we need consistency. Policy as a code means governance rules are stored like software codes, like unit test, and applied automatically. Automating these checks ensure fairness at each and every step. Privacy tests run in every pipeline, helps us not to have any leakage of our data. Reusing these libraries means we don't have to reinvent our bias detection every time. So modularizing these approaches, okay, this particular fairness check. So anybody else using this particular data again will apply this check again. So that ensures our data, wherever it is flowing, if we apply all these checks in the data itself, wherever it flows without flaws. So standardization makes responsible AI sustainable. Governance meets innovation. So closing my thoughts or my learning over these many years with the best practices we have started following, I want to say that the trust enables. Some people think governance slows down innovation. I've heard that in the past. In reality, poor governance slows down innovation. If the model has to be pulled back after deployed due to the bias or some privacy issue, that costs time and it dilutes trust. When governance is built in, teams moves faster because they don't have to redo the work. Leaders trust our output more. It leads to the adoption. It grows. Even if you find something incorrect and you're able to fix that faster, you actually are able to build trust and also give the reason why that happened. So, this reasoning, explainability, and having all these checks and whistles in the beginning itself actually enables innovation. It does not slows down innovation, which was a misconception earlier in the industry. So, the key takeaways from today's topic is responsible AI starts with data. So shift left approach. Don't shift late. Don't think later. Think before when you're making your data. Spend more time with the data. Make it more clean. Do the data profiling so that it represents all the groups on which you want to build your model. If a particular group is missing, then don't use this model for analyzing that group. Like if I have to run a particular model on, say, line of business commercial or Medicaid or Medicare, I won't use the same data for all three of them. I would be mindful of using, okay, if I need to make my decisions for the commercial population, I would only stick to my this much data. I will not add the bias because of the Medicare and Medicaid data. So I would run my model on that particular group, which actually gives me more better results for for which I'm running the model. So responsible AI starts with data. Embed fairness, privacy, transparency into the pipeline. That makes your process mature. Automate governance in the workflow so that it becomes the muscle memory of your governance becomes the muscle memory along with your data. Build trust through traceability, accountability. So that helps us to adopt and grow fast. If not, we can do one task at a time. It's ongoing engineering practice. We would have to build that at each and every step in our engineering practice, in our infrastructure. So building AI worth trusting, we can take these small steps like we discussed about the fairness check, enabling lineage. Fairness checks can be built in by Azure machine learning. We can use Microsoft Purview for building lineage. There are different type of data lineage if you go deep into it, like physical lineage, where you're basically doing the lineage for your tables, and then the analytical lineage, it's more for the analyst or the semantic layer. We call that with the semantic layer as well, where it's also talks about the lineage of the derived columns, how they are being traced. If the data is being shipped from one particular source, to the another source so that transformation and load happens. So it does provide you the lineage to the beginning of your data. So over and apply sensitivity labels to mask your data so that you are not losing on privacy. So doing these in bundle over time, governance becomes part of your system design, not an afterthought. That's how we build AI systems people can trust, they can rely on them, and can grow, adapt them faster. I would take a pause now. The thoughts and the best practices I wanted to convey. I did that with a small bundle of the small start, which I said is fairness checks, lineage, and sensitivity labels. I hope that would have helped, and over time, governance will become part of your system designs, not an afterthought. And I want to thank you for uh, hearing me out, and I hope that you can apply these approaches in your organization. We can always discuss any challenges you're going through, or the data governance, or the trust. You can reach me out on my LinkedIn or on my email. Would happy to connect.
Awesome. Thank you, Venus. This is always a big topic, but you've distilled it down really well to make it very manageable. But I do have a scalable question for you, if I could ask. The tools and techniques that you've outlined do require a skill set that not all firms are scaled to do that, to be able to tackle AI the best way possible. So what would be a practical approach for firms that maybe don't have data engineers or scientists on staff, but they don't want to step out fully from AI? Let's just say Copilot. Let's just say it's, a certain type of AI. Do you have any practical tips for perhaps firms that might not have a big stack of developers and technical crew behind them to help guide here?
Yeah, so like throughout my career, I have dealt with the huge amount of data, the data lakes and all. So we have dealt with a lot of machine learning tools. I gave example from the Microsoft point of view.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you don't have the full-blown data engineering team, I assume the data you would be dealing with would not be that huge volume as well.
Well, I work in the financial services space, and there's a ton of data. There's CRM, there's documents, there's portfolio accounting data, there's trust systems, there's tons of data. And then there's the black hole data, like people's spreadsheets, and there's like this phantom data everywhere. So I would never rule out the volume of data just simply based on the size of the firm, because we convert data all the time, and just we're converting millions of rows of data. So
Okay.
I have not seen it to be untrue that there's a lot of data out there.
Cool, cool.
So
Yeah. So I'm sure that you must be using some of the AI tools specifically to deal with the data, not only just the Excel. You must be using some tools where you can build, even in Excel, right? You can build
mhm,
macros which controls
yeah,
your accuracy of your each column. Just if you run those macros, it will tell you where your data is failing before you even make your data as a story.
yeah,
You didn't even made it a story, but you can run your macros in the Excel. You can do that
mhm,
without even any engineer
yeah,
or somebody who can do that for you. And
yeah,
then nowadays, learning how to add those checks, even using those machine learning, is not difficult because, like you talked about Copilot, right? GitHub Copilot writes the code for you.
mhm,
It
mhm,
does, right? So you can use that small snippets, you can pass that. And what you need to do is later on take that snippet and just replace that with the schema you want to run that code on.
got
So
it.
those snippets helps you not to design your query through a data engineer, but you're designing your query yourself. You're embedding that particular check. So there are ways if you want to do it without data engineers or without having too many developers within the organization, you write the small macros. Definitely a little bit of learning curve is there
Sure.
for
Yeah,
all these approaches, because when you are trying to automate that, it's better that you apply all those if and else in your
Mm.
logic so that you don't lose and you don't leak anything in terms of privacy, in terms of
Right.
governance, or in terms of check you want to put. I would suggest if you are using Excel heavily, use macros. That helps a lot.
Yeah. And I
If
think
you
that's
are
the common denominator for people. People still understand Excel. It's just the pervasive tool. It's
correct,
still a
correct.
tool that everybody uses. Yeah.
Correct. We all think that governance goes later, but if we really spend more time in our data, just in our data, even if it is in Excel, we make sure that we have our data format correct. Sometime what I have seen in Excels, specifically in the financial companies I worked with, the data format is wrong. Somewhere it is
Mhm. Yeah. It's like
text,
a,
even in the data,
yeah.
even in the uh, data sets, in the tables,
Oh, it's
somewhere it is
frozen.
defined.
Yeah.
Sorry. Am I over
But-
time?
No, 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 no. You're good.
Somewhere it is defined as string, somewhere it is defined as numbers. And then when you're trying to read them through, it becomes a problem. So having those kind of automations that we are flowing the data format correctly from one place to another, we are not losing our data. These are like small checks. If you know that particular column can add a bias to my data because I don't have a particular group represented in this particular column, even in Excel, you can say that avoid this particular data to be used for this particular demographic or this particular group. Use this particular table only for these groups. So that can be taken care by macros, which can warn any newcomer who does not know this data, but will be educated at the first step itself that, okay,
Right.
I can only use this for this particular model. I cannot use it for this particular analysis. So
Yeah.
if you bake that once, you don't have to do that learning again.
Yeah.
Whereas earlier, what we used to do, we take 6 months time to make person trained on it because we
Hmm.
did whatever we did in the beginning, we didn't put that as an automation.
Correct. Yeah.
And now this person has to take 6 months to understand. Now understand with the failures. Why?
Yeah, perfect. And with Copilot in Excel, you can actually prompt it to clean some things. So it actually is human language. Like even if you don't understand how to do macros, which would be obviously ideal, you can get there. It's just learning how to use the tools that are now available to you. So it is a very like the takeaway here, it's very scalable to approach AI with governance first, with all the bits and pieces for any level of firm. It's just picking the tools and the approach that make the most sense for your data set too. Like if you're in the billions of data rows like you're in, it's a different world. You're not going to use Excel macros necessarily. So, but it is a very scalable approach
Yes,
for
yes.
everybody.
From 10 rows to any number of rows, apply this approach depending upon the tool you want
Right.
to use,
Yeah.
depending upon that how many engineers or data engineers you have. Using that resources, the approach, if we still keep it to embedding that in the data, we grow.
Yeah.
We don't come back and look for the flaws back, tracing it back, versus we grow because now we have trusted our data. We have built it in with the trust.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Does anybody else have any questions for Venus? Take advantage of this PhD brain here.
No pressure, Venus.
Excellent.
No, we're all good.
Cool.
I do like your comment about the sensitivity labels. I do think that there's varying levels of adoption of that, but just how critical that is to AI. And we didn't have to do that. Like in the old days, there was no such thing as doing it. And really the only rule, I remember back in the early days of CRM, in Microsoft CRM, Microsoft connects with Outlook for CRM. And there's a setting that says just track every email into the CRM. And we would always say, NO, like you would see the like the board meetings, you'd see the salaries, you'd see like this person's going to get fired on Friday. So we would constantly tell clients, don't enable all because you don't know what's going to be the impact downstream. It's the same concept of sensitivity labels. Unless you're actively using them you don't know the doors that you're leaving open, and then the massive cleanup downstream. Like I always call these the 911 calls when we would have clients that insist to turn all tracking on just because it's easy, right? They want the easy button. We would get 911 calls. Stop the tracking. The salaries are in the zero. Like they're absolute panic mode because somebody found an email they shouldn't have found. So to me, it's like just do a little bit upfront to your point. And it's the same, it's rinse and repeat, the same content all the time. It's in, in early 2000, that was the problem of the day. Today, it's really reassessing your approach and strategy to be able to take advantage of great tools, but do it the right way and don't learn the hard way. Like, don't do it. And all of a sudden, your AI is reaching into the salary spreadsheet that nobody put a confidential label on, right? Like it's not hard to get there. It just takes planning and just, somebody has to make some decisions, right?
Yeah, yeah. So generally, like it's wise to keep all your talking in terms of the data in the columns, those columns which can reveal the information as the masked values, and anybody need access to it would need to definitely have to ask for the access so that we don't
Yeah.
by mistake also, especially that comes very handy in the healthcare industry where we have a lot of compliances to follow for the PII information.
Yeah.
But like when I was in Salesforce, there was not as tight rules as we have here in healthcare versus Salesforce CRM
Right.
because we didn't have the health information there for our customers. But still, we used to have those checks based upon the role of the person, who can see
Yeah.
what. And we used to have mass values, which needs to be converted back into the real values if at all somebody has to see it. And that comes with a lot of access approvals.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're working with a client who they want to put Copilot, like Microsoft Copilot, like the work version, but they realize that they haven't done the job in SharePoint to make sure that documents are properly tagged. So we've, put a halt. So it's good to have checks and balances before you leap into things, but I think there's a lot of like anxiety about we're behind everybody, but I'd rather be behind than deal with
Correct.
data breaches
And
and data impact, right?
so this is what I've seen in general, where as soon as people have all the data together, they think, oh, we have everything now, we can do this final
Just
part.
turn it on. Yeah.
Whereas we have to spend now, if we have 10 days of doing that particular task we want to do, we need to spend 8 days in our data.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then definitely, if it is correct, in 2 days, you'll fly.
Yeah. Yeah. Good lessons. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions for Venus? I feel like I've hogged all the airtime.
Maybe we just do a time check, Tanya, because we've got roughly 6 minutes, I think.
Yep.
So I don't know how we
Yeah.
like to use our last few minutes.
Yeah. So we have a little thank you, Venus. This was
Thank
awesome.
you.
Really, really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Always great to hear some guidance from the experts, and certainly it's always an evolving topic, right? Like this is not a one and done conversation by any stretch. Like you have to absolutely stay on top of this as an organization. So the last comment I'll say is what I'm seeing in my industry is the changing hiring practices. Like firms in wealth management, asset management, they used to just be hiring operations people. Now they're actually hiring data people, like very dedicated technical people to be able to do better and to be more prepared. So it's an interesting side conversation around just what is happening in the space out there just because of what's happening in the world around us with AI. So anyway, thank you. It was awesome. We're gonna just transition for the last little second. We always like to include a little session on what's your favorite feature. So we have it both for Dynamics and for Power Platform. So if you have a favorite feature you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. Vonda, I know you have one you're dying to talk about. So why
Wow,
don't you kick things off?
it's what I'm getting to grips with, and it's work in progress. However, I'm testing out how useful can Copilot be in a situation where we have monthly meetups. I want to be able to extract a particular key phrase and any discussion around that key phrase in the meetup. So I need it to skim through, if you like, mine through the transcript of the recording. I need it to transpose it into a nice Word document. And then over the months, I'm going to have 10, 12 individual Word documents. And then the final push that I'm going to test Copilot on is to mine through the 10, 12 Word documents and compile and put everything into a neat, tidy wrap-up Word document and master Word document. So it's a compilation exercise I'm going through. I don't want everything that's discussed. I just want a particular phrase that that we're going to be working on. So I'm testing that and the powers of Copilot. How well will it pick up on voices? How well will it pick up on what we've had in an audio transcript? And how good is the actual summary? Is it mumbo jumbo, or is it
Yeah.
is it something tidy? So I'm
So we
working
want to say
on,
favorite features a lot for you.
yes, 10 times. 10 times just to train Copilot to pick it up. So yeah, compilation of Word documents with key phrases, and then the output needs to be a wrap-up Word document that I can later PDF and circulate. So that's my favorite feature right now. Who else? Do we want to go around the room? Do we want to ask others on the call? Tracy, I'll pick on you, Tracy, if you're there. What are you loving right now that you're working with and is just a neat, helpful aid to your life?
I may not be the best person to ask.
That's all
I'm
right.
more finance and supply chain. So I
Oh,
come here to, or some of the other groups like this one, to just hear what else is going on out there.
yeah.
But I'm not directly involved in some of these things.
Yeah.
So it's just
Okay.
more of trying to stay in the loop a little bit.
Yeah. General education, sure.
Yes. Thank you.
I've got one, Vonda, that kind of ties into your initiative that we've been working on together. Is one of my favorite features is the Teams facilitator. So it does what Copilot does, but on top of it, does a whole lot more to help facilitate the meetings, to help transcribe in-person meetings. It does what you would expect Teams and like Copilot and Teams to do, to record, to summarize, to outline the tasks. But it does it actually on steroids. So I think we should probably even look at it for our own meetings. And then the really neat thing is if you upload an agenda, for instance, it'll start to show you where you are in the agenda. I pull people in the audience that are supposed to participate, and it'll, nudge them in the chat. Like, it does a whole bunch of really cool things.
Okay.
And then the summaries that it's generating are really, really high quality. So I think maybe just as an aside note, for our own meetup, I want to start using the facilitator. And then I think the initiative that we're talking about collecting stuff, I think facilitator will be the tool that actually helps us do it a lot easier. And the one other thing to note about facilitator is the difference between just the AI summary and facilitator. The AI summary is for you. You're the organizer. You get to see stuff. You're internal to the organization. You might have permissions to see, because you and I work at the same firm. If we did, I would see your summary, you would see mine. But if we have Venus on the call, she wouldn't see it. You have to download it and send it out and stuff like that. Facilitator makes it available to everybody instantly. So pros and cons, obviously you want to be thoughtful about when you would think that that would be an appropriate share. But I have to say, in my own world, I have more meetings with external parties that I would share the content with than non-sharing meetings. And so for me, if facilitator were my go-to and my default, that would be a more streamlined workflow for me than not having facilitator, just because of the kinds of meetings that I have, that I always share the output. I always share the AI summary pretty quickly after the meeting. Then I have to download stuff. Anyway, it's a rigmarole. that I have to go through. And so facilitator kind of makes my life a lot easier because it does a bunch of stuff automatically. So that would be my favorite feature right now on in the Power Platform in Teams. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I think
Great.
we're at time. We did have a survey, but we'll have to send it out separately. Thank you, Venus, again for participating today. As I mentioned at the top, we're always happy to have people join. And if you have a session you want to present, like no topic is off limits. This group is meant for managers and admins. So we're not really getting in the weeds of how do you create an opportunity in the CRM. It's not that kind of goal. It's really about planning, implementing, managing deployments and projects across the suite of the Microsoft tools. So if you know or you want to participate, or if you know somebody that wants to participate, we'd love to have it. We have lots of voices in here. Please do go and check out the other meetups. Go to DynamicsCon if you can. But thank you everybody for attending today. This was great. Venus, wonderful. Absolutely nailed it. And we'll look forward to everybody on next month. Vonda, when's our date?
I think it's I've just put it in the chat actually. I think it's the 26th of
I think that rings a bell, yeah.
March, 26th of March. And for us, if any of us are joining from Europe or UK, it'll be an hour earlier because we've got daylight savings difference. So for me, it'll be earlier. For you guys, I don't think it changes for
Perfect.
North
Awesome.
America at the moment.
Well, I hope we see all you guys out again in March. And
Thank you so
thanks
much.
again, everybody. Happy Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thursday.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
everybody.
Thanks,
Okay.
Venus. Thanks.
Bye now.